Hi students, here is an interesting topic, Gestalt laws of perceptual organization. We have discussed that when our sense organs contact with some objects or items, our brain interprets them, and this process is known as perception. And here, Gestalt psychologists put forth some interesting laws related to our perception. Whenever we see different items together, then we have got a tendency to group such items together, or we perceive such items as a group of objects. And these people have introduced some laws, some theories of such grouping. There are 6 major laws of perceptual organization introduced by Gestalt psychologists. I may bring your attention to these laws. The first law is law of similarity. According to this law, when we look at some objects, we have got a tendency to group the similar items together and to perceive such items as a single group. And look at these figures. You can see circles. There are circles with white color and some green colored circles are there. And when we look at these circles, we perceive them as 2 rectangles. All the white colored circles are perceived together as a rectangle, and all the green colored circles are perceived as another rectangle. So this is a sort of perception. So law of similarity tells that we often perceive some items which are similar as a group. And this is law of similarity. And the second law is law of pragnance. According to this theory, when we look at a group of objects, we always tend to perceive it as simple as possible. Here you can see different circles, but we are never perceiving this as 6 circles, but we perceive it as an image which has got some overlapping circles. We perceive these circles as a single image of 6 overlapping circles rather than perceiving it as 6 circles. And this law is known as law of pragnance. We always perceive different items which are grouped together as simple as possible. And this is law of pragnance. And there is a third law, law of proximity. According to this law, we group some items which are so close, so near, as a single group. And see here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 columns of circles. But when we look at these circles, these series of circles, columns of circles, we perceive the first 6 columns. I mean the 6 columns which are at the left side as a single rectangle. And then we look at the 6 columns of circles at the right side. We take or we perceive them as 3 rectangles of 2 columns of circles. So we see 4 objects there. First 6 columns of circles are perceived as a single object, as a single rectangle, and the second, the 6 columns of circles at the right side are perceived as 3 different groups, 3 different rectangles. And this law is law of proximity. So according to law of proximity, when we look at a group of objects or different objects together, we always tend to perceive some objects which are near as a single group. And this is law of proximity. Then law of continuity is there, the 4th law. According to this law, when there is a group of objects which are joined together or which are continuous, then we easily perceive them. Here you can see different lines. You can see 2 lines which are continuous with some white bigger dots. They are continuous. There is no gap. So we perceive them. And there is another line which have got some gap. So we are not perceiving it easily. When we look at the image, at a sudden we perceive the lines which has got some continuity. And this law is law of continuity. And another law is law of closure. According to this law, when we look at some lines which are, or when we look at some objects which are so close and there is no completion, even if there is no completion, we will perceive the items as a single object. For example, you look at the first one. Actually, it is not a circle. You can see some lines, and the lines are not closed. Even if it is not closed, we perceive it as a circle. And the second one, again, there are lines, figures, and figures are not closed. There is gap, but still we perceive it as a square. And this is law of closure. Even if the lines are not closed, our brain perceives such items as a single object. And this is law of closure. So according to law of closure, when we look at some lines and figures which are so close to others, we perceive them as a single object even if there are some gaps, even if the lines are not closed. Then comes law of common region. According to this law, we always perceive some items as a single group which are placed at a particular region. And see, in the first picture, there is two backgrounds. The brown colored background, the ash colored background, and the white colored background. So we always take stop war together because they are written in the white background and peace now. But in the second picture, in the white background, we see stop, peace. So instead of reading stop war, we will read stop peace and war now. Because the background, the region. So we always perceive some items which are placed at a particular region together. Because it's our brain's tendency is in such a manner. And this is law of common region. So according to law of common region, we perceive items which are placed at a particular region together. So thank you. These are something about law of common, Gestalt laws of perceptual organization. I feel that you have got the idea. So you can write an essay on that if you are asked for that by making use of your own examples. Thank you. All the best.